All right, so welcome everyone. This is another Insight series with SpenglerFox, where we talk about interesting and essential topics with our business community. And today we have a very interesting topic to discuss. That's the future of travel. And not only the future of travel in the sense when are we all going to go back for vacation and visit our friends and go to the airport, but what will the digitization of the whole industry mean for the future of travel? How quickly will travel industry have an impact from all what's happening around the technology sector? I'm very lucky and fortunate to have Julia Suttle, the former president of airlines division at Amadeus, which all of you for sure know. And if you don't know, whenever you booked a ticket via any airline, pretty much, or a hotel, it was done via Amadeus software, global distribution system software. And Julia is going to talk about the way she sees the future of travel and a couple of other topics with us today. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you, Dmitry, for the introduction. I'm Julia Suttle. I'm a German citizen born in Cologne, a mathematician by education. After I worked a few years at the university, I joined major IT companies before I then in '95 started in Amadeus Travel Technology to build first the GDS, the distribution business, to our worldwide presence, being the global leader of the GDS industry. And then during the last 12 years, I was heading up airlines and leaded the growth of Amadeus in travel IT for airlines. So now Amadeus has more than 200 customers in the airline world, amongst them low-cost carriers. And I think that gives us in Amadeus a profound understanding of travel and how travel is behaving. Now, COVID has hit all of us totally unexpected. We weren't prepared for a pandemic, and I think there's lots of lessons to learn. But Dmitry, I hand over back to you. You wanted to ask me questions.
Yeah, I was going to say amazing. I mean, what has happened to the travel industry as a whole. We can look at the last 10 years and the amount of travel that's been happening then versus before the pandemic, right at the peak, is incredibly different. How much easier and accessible travel has become even to the most remote parts of the world. Like this was part of your territory. You were managing the whole, I think, EMEA region with all the regions in African continent where this has been growing exponentially, right? How all of this is going to change now that pandemic obviously has taken a different course of events? What's your view on the future?
I think there is no change in direction. It has just accelerated trends that I've seen already. One of them clearly is the digitization of the industry. If I said it hit us unprepared, I mean that between the authorities, the public sector, the traveler and the providers, mainly airlines and hotels, there was not yet enough cooperation to ensure that we avoid unnecessary queues and contact points during travel. I think touchless or digital is the word now. We try to avoid queues, try to avoid contact with others in order to have a frictionless and safe trip, and that need has become now more urgent than ever. So the name of the game is, how can technology help to avoid friction during the trip end to end? I mean at the check-in, I mean at the boarding, I mean at the pick-up and check-in of luggage, all points during the entire trip where we need to queue have to be digitized, so that by swiping a code you can pass without having to get in touch with others. And that's a fundamental opportunity for the travel industry also to give a much more pleasant customer experience, because nobody likes queues independently of pandemic.
Yeah. I was when you were saying this, I was picturing in my mind, you know, the registration booth in the airport and the one where you can do self check-in, and I was thinking that's probably going to be the most popular booth in the future, whereas this used to be always empty, but now this is where the queues are going to be. But is there any type of airline service that you think would not be possible to perform without the human? What would be the type of service that travelers will still like to receive by a human being?
First of all, I think the check-in you can conveniently do at home on your mobile or your computer. You don't even have to queue at the check-in machine in the airport. Another touch point is the check-in of luggage. There are services, companies in the market, and I'm quite close to one now in my new life, where you get the luggage picked up at your home and delivered at your destination. So you avoid queuing at the check-in and queuing at the luggage belt, where contacts are quite uncontrolled. The other thing is at immigration. There is various points specifically at the airport where airport authorities and airlines need to work together to digitize those and allow passengers to manage their trip on their mobile, so touchless. I think that traveler ID, digital traveler ID, we hear about this quite a bit recently, becomes more and more important. This means all touch points of the trip, including the check-in at the hotel, the rental car or the Uber that you have ordered, all these things need to be reflected in one flow that is your flow. So I type Julia Suttle, a password, and I have my entire trip with all related codes that I need, including the health code for the PCR or for the vaccination, and all of these checks, yeah, can be digitized and be stored in one wallet, if you want so.
Yeah, yeah, I can see what you mean. And then the travel become nothing more than a mobility, same as you have with Uber. You virtually do not need to interact with a physical human being when you are taking the trip. Do you think, however, that the travelers will adapt to this new reality, and they will be traveling as much past the pandemic as they used to before? I'm drawing a parallel with the retail market, where now that people discovered that, you know, there are certain things that they do not need to go to the shop for, and shopping was a way of life when, you know, people sometimes walked around the shopping center just to look at things. Now they discovered that this kind of experience is not really that necessary. Do you think people will be traveling as much? Now we have Zoom. You and I would have probably met before, in person. We are talking over video. How soon do you think people will go back to the previous way of traveling, or will they go back at all?
That's a very good question. Thank you. Even before the pandemic, there has a study been made about where travel is in the, let's say, desires that humans have. And it came out that right after the really basic needs that humans have, like food and drink and love, it comes travel right away. So it's a basic desire. And when you think about it, dictatorships, they failed not because of the material misery only, but they try to cut the mobility of people. People want mobility. That's in us humans, and that doesn't change that easily. People want the experience. And then I bring you, that's in the leisure area. And I believe that after the pandemic, people will be relieved and travel probably more than ever, but as we said before, in a much more digital way in order to control the risk they have during the touch points. Then you take business travel. It is true that we have reduced trips and have had videos and all of that, but I can also see that over a year that this has been happening now, relationships suffer. You can't build trust. You can maintain a business and you know the people on the other side, but it's nearly impossible to build new relationships and build the necessary confidence that you need to do business. Also, I had to negotiate a contract last year still, and it would have been 1 week, intense work to close it. Now, through the video, it became an endless exercise because it's just not the same. You cannot thresh out things like in a direct contact. So I think as long as we deal with humans, travel has a very good chance to stay. And the prognosis is quite promising that after the vaccination has progressed, people will come. People say, I want to travel, just tell me where to go. At the moment, it's not so easy to find destinations. But absolute confidence and scientific, humans want to travel.
Very good point. Very good point. I'm coming to my final question before we wrap up and we establish some way of keeping in touch with you for the future. But when it comes to the skill sets of the new normal and the way you see it from the travel industry standpoint, what is the core new skill that you think is going to be in demand in the travel industry? What sort of qualities do the leaders of the future need to possess to take the travel industry to the new level?
Thank you, Dmitry, for the question. They need the same skills as any digital leader in the modern economy. That means instead of controlling and instructing people, they need to encourage people to innovate and to do new things and to get the best of their skills out. This is a totally different approach, yeah. Not too much about credentials, yeah, my title. It's about you work as a team, and a leader has the task to get the best talent and get the best performance out of that talent by encouraging them to do what they think is right. And that means you foster innovation, you encourage innovation, all in all, you need courage and you need to take decisions and you have to prove to people that it works. And that's a very motivational environment. I think it would have been always the best way of leading, but we all know that still the old management style of control and giving orders and particularly controlling information is prevailing. Information is there to be shared. Yeah, and traditional management sees a risk in sharing information. The future management will foster sharing of information. So personally, I find it very, very motivating to think of that new age.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring, and I can echo what you're saying about the hierarchy of information sharing in an organization, prevalent and seen so much these days, even these days. Well, thank you very much for this valuable insight, for this content. I'd like to thank you for making the panel, and I'd like to thank everyone who's watching. In case our viewers and our community want to reach out to you with some question or maybe for some business discussion, what's the best way they can find you? Is it on LinkedIn, social media, any other way you prefer?
LinkedIn and my email contacts, which are in LinkedIn, Julia Suttle @outlook.com. So,
excellent.
And my mobile also LinkedIn, so you see all in my profile.
Excellent. So thank you very much once again. With that, we're ending this series of another series of Insight with the SpenglerFox leaders. And I wish you all stay safe and have a good 2021. Thank you, Julia, once again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.